few dared to speak this truth, as it could fundamentally change our understanding of the universe and life after death. But I am convinced the souls of the deceased who have left their bodies do not dissolve into the void and do not wander through the infinite expanses of the universe, but exist in a specific place. And I want to reveal what this place is so that people can finally understand the true nature of the afterlife. Such an entry was once left by Eugenij Livencov, a retired Major General and simultaneously a radio engineer. He claimed that in the late 90s, he received messages from the higher cosmic mind, which explained to him the afterlife fate of human souls and warned humanity of a fatal mistake. Livencov repeatedly turned to publishers, hoping to publish these revelations. However, the reactions were mixed. Some considered him crazy, others a charlatan. Nevertheless, the manuscripts were published, largely due to the general's reputation. As a witness to the horrors of World War II, he had always placed great value on his honest name and never allowed his integrity to be doubted. He could only publish such information with absolute certainty about its truth. What made him take this risky step? Everything changed after he literally returned to life. In 1985, Livencov retired and, 2 years later, suffered a stroke that put him into a coma. The doctors at the military hospital gave him no hope of recovery, as they believed his body would not survive the stroke. However, on the 9th day, the dying patient unexpectedly woke up. The doctors were astonished. Not only had the man survived, but he was also fully restored, as if he had never been ill. Livencov said that during his coma, his soul left his body and made contact with the higher mind. This mind told him, on the 9th day, you will awaken and be completely healthy. The doctors were skeptical of these accounts and attributed everything to his age and the stress he had experienced. However, the story did not end there. When Livencov returned home, he felt an irresistible urge to write. When he picked up a pen and a blank sheet, he suddenly realized that his hand was moving on its own and writing thoughts that, as he claimed, did not belong to him. Thus, the first message from the higher mind was born. It was explained that the general had a unique gift that allowed him to communicate with the spiritual world. He was entrusted with an important mission: to warn humanity that their unreasonable actions could lead to a catastrophe that would not only cause massive destruction on Earth, but could also disturb the balance of centrifugal forces in the solar system. Eugenij Livencov was revealed the understanding of what the higher mind is, what the soul is, and the path it takes after the end of earthly existence. The higher mind is an energetic structure that possesses intellect, the ability to organize and create. It fills the entire space within the solar system and extends beyond its boundaries. However, intrusion into this structure is premature for humans and can lead to tragic consequences, resulting not only in the end of physical life, but also in the cessation of spiritual existence. According to Livenkov's records, the higher mind influences the soul before it enters earthly life, activating all the organs and senses of the body when entering the body of a child. This allows the person not only to act on an instinctual level, but also to guide their feelings and intellect. Additionally, the soul may receive extra abilities at birth, such as extrasensory and occult talents, enabling the person to demonstrate extraordinary abilities in science or art. People with such gifts show unusual abilities from a young age, which allow them to develop their intellect and senses with an intensity that differs from that of normal people. The intensity of their brain and sense activity gradually increases. However, these gifts should be used for the benefit of humanity and not for the purpose of exploring the spiritual world out of curiosity. When the soul comes to Earth, it gathers experiences that are preserved even when transitioning into the spiritual existence. When the soul leaves the earthly world, the higher mind determines its further place in the spiritual world based on its moral purity and the principles it upheld on Earth. In Livenkov's records, there are many descriptions of the spiritual world, especially about what happens after a person dies. When a person dies, the higher mind takes their energetic doppelganger from their body, which contains all of the person's memories, from birth to the end of life. This doppelganger is sent for eternal storage in the memory field, while the soul retains its earthly memory. The spiritual world has clear boundaries, and the souls remain in specific places. One can say that each soul has its own place on the planet. Souls that have committed many evil deeds in their earthly life are sent to the orbital of souls. The orbital of souls is located near the Earth and follows the same orbit as the Moon. Here, the souls are in constant atonement and experience their earthly sins. In rare cases, souls that stay on the orbital can be scattered across the cosmos. After scattering, these souls cannot be reborn. Souls that the higher mind considers morally pure go to another place, the dwelling of souls, which resembles an elongated cylinder with a diameter equal to that of the Earth. In this dwelling, the soul is gradually freed from all the negative deeds it committed during its earthly life. Eugenij Livencov explained, "I make these revelations so that people understand that when they stop striving for material wealth and make work an inseparable part of their lives, it will not only extend and improve their earthly life, but also create better conditions for life in the spiritual world." In the messages from the higher mind, it is said that one of the most destructive human traits is greed. This vice can transform a person into a being whose qualities increasingly resemble an animal, living solely by instinct. When a person refuses to follow spiritual principles, their earthly life becomes a field of suffering. Numerous attempts have already been made to change this destructive state, where material values are the main goal of existence, which has repeatedly led to the destruction of entire civilizations. Yet this state is still alive and is continually restored. In the messages received by Livencov, situations were also described that could convince a person, even in earthly life, of the reality of the spiritual world. Each of us has a thinking doppelganger in earthly life. This doppelganger knows everything about the person and was created by the higher mind to warn them of dangers that could lead to their death. Intuition and premonition are closely linked to this thinking doppelganger. These inner warnings are often perceived as a voice warning us of various threats. Another sign of the existence of spiritual life is the illuminations that do not originate from the energetic doppelganger. In the messages Livencov received, it is said that the source of these illuminations is of cosmic nature. The person perceives them as thoughts that come to mind, and often, based on these illuminations, discoveries are made or works are created. Enlightenment can happen to anyone, but there are those who are constantly in contact with the spiritual world. They are called clairvoyants. Clairvoyance can help others, but this often leads to them gradually losing their abilities, which usually results in serious illnesses. The cosmic fate of the human soul after death was also discussed by another scientist, Robert Lanza, a proponent of the theory of biocentrism. According to his theory, human consciousness does not disappear after death, but continues to exist in a parallel universe. This theory suggests that death is not the end of life, but a transition to a new world. There are numerous universes into which the soul transitions after death. Consciousness does not disappear. It simply moves into a parallel reality, which people often perceive as this other place. This is not the afterlife, but a parallel universe, meaning that life after death exists in another form and is much more astonishing than we can imagine. According to quantum physics and the popular hypothesis of many universes, the world consists of an innumerable number of parallel worlds. This means that our physical reality, which seems unique and singular to us, is just one of the possible realities. According to the scientist, there are countless universes, each containing different versions of people and events simultaneously. We tend to think that life is simply the activity of bodies and molecules. Lanza uses the example of the perception of the surroundings. A person sees the sky as blue, but if the cells in their brain were changed, they might begin to perceive it as green or red. Thus, space and time are simply tools of our consciousness. According to the theory of biocentrism, death is an illusion that arises in our consciousness because people identify with their bodies, which will eventually die. In reality, consciousness exists outside of time and space and can exist both within and outside the human body. This aligns well with the principles of quantum mechanics, according to which a particle can be in different places at the same time, and an event can unfold in infinitely many scenarios. It is no secret that there are many universes where all possible variations of events are realized. In one universe, the body dies. In another, it continues to live. Our consciousness simply transitions to another reality and takes on a new form. Of course, it is not certain that life in other universes is the same as in ours. The soul will likely take on a completely different form that we cannot even imagine. Robert Lanza believes that consciousness is energy. According to the law of conservation of energy, energy cannot disappear without a trace or emerge from nothing. Similarly, consciousness cannot be destroyed. However, the body dies over time, and that is an inevitable natural law. But possibly, consciousness exists for some time in the form of electrical impulses flowing through the neurons in the brain. Scientists claim that this energy can transition from one world to another. Lanza based his theory on an experiment that proves scientists can influence the behavior of microparticles with the power of thought. This means that human consciousness actually has an impact on what happens. The scientist explained this as follows. Reality is a process that requires our participation. Thus, we are, regardless of what we do, both observers and participants in what happens. Followers of the theory of biocentrism are convinced that the connection between this experiment and daily life goes beyond the usual notions of space and time. Space and time are not physical objects, but concepts we use to describe the world. Everything we see is a flow of information that passes through our consciousness. Space and time are tools for measuring abstract and concrete things. If that is so, then death does not exist. Followers of biocentrism are convinced that humans are currently in a state of sleep, and the world around us is a fantasy moved by our minds. Lanza said, "We've been taught that we are simply a collection of cells, and that we die when our bodies wear out. But numerous scientific experiments show that our belief in death is based on a false idea of the existence of a world independent of us. If we believe the scientist, then physical life is not a coincidence, but destiny. And even after death, consciousness remains in the present, in balance between the past and an uncertain future, moving between realities. After death, each of us will climb a staircase to eternity, and this staircase can be anywhere. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. Your opinion is very important to us. We wish you much inspiration and a great day. May your path be accompanied by positive changes and discoveries.